Good
Hey,
day.
Jen.
Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I think that sounds a lot better.
Okay.
Oh, it does sound better right away.
Oh, hang on. I'll turn on your mic, Tony.
Yeah,
There we go.
that sounds
Oh,
way
I can
better.
hear you well too. Okay, good. I wish I had a proper mic though.
Jen sounds like a radio star. She didn't before, 'cause of her window settings. And now she sounds better, 'cause of better window settings.
But
What are you
not
doing, Tony?
pro. He's serenading.
Serenading on using the a
Oh.
radio
The
killed
better
or video
settings.
killed the radio star. Okay, our link is in. We got our live stream up and the pre-show. For anyone who's listening on the pre-show, welcome. We'll be on the radio soon.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
The pre-show is where Tony shines.
Yeah, the
Well,
shine isn't as. He's not as shiny when the show actually starts.
Just right, just failure right away.
yeah, Dawn just steals all the limelight.
Just nervous failure for me. All right, let's get our musics up. All right, we're good. Got my new phone set up. On my phone plan, I got a free Pixel 8 Pro.
Oh, look at you! What'd you do to get that?
I don't know. Just
You're just so amazing, I guess. Is it? Is that
yeah,
why?
I guess they just know about my presence on social media and my 27,000 followers. They're like, you know what? Let's just give them a free phone.
I thought that would have put you
That's Tony McGuire on
Yeah.
social media for everybody
in
out
a
there.
in a barred room. Vertical bars.
You can check out my videos and my content at. Speak, I'm one of those guys.
Don't forget to like, share, and
Yeah,
subscribe.
don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, don't we hear that all day?
Who's gonna go first for a song selection today?
Jen's turn,
Okay.
right, Jen?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
I won't forget that this time. Although I tried to steal your turn once.
Yeah, you did. I remembered that. I've never forgotten it.
Traumatized
Never.
for life.
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm
Rebecca
trying to find out where
Strong.
I'm trying to find out where exactly she's from.
Oh no. Did Jen pick songs that?
Tony might have problems finding. If I can complete your sentence correctly, Tony.
Rebecca Strong, a cover of.
Rolling in the deep.
So Rebecca Strong does a cover of Adele's stuff,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's okay. So I got to play a video for that. That's not even available
No? Should I grab
because it's
something
on a
else?
video. It's on a TV show, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not a release song. So Jen's always like, there's this great Japanese cereal commercial.
It's always obscure.
It's a really good jingle, though. If you could find it, I
how
don't have
I
the English
roll.
translation, Tony, but
Okay, you know what? I will find something else.
Did you say a Korean Japanese cereal commercial?
yeah, no, it'll be Japanese. It'll be more obscure. It's like from around 78 or so. I remember it growing up. I don't have a name for it, but so that's one of my selections.
Okay, I'll do someone else for the beginning.
No, I have it.
Okay. I was going to pick Muddy Waters. I was just going to go all blues today. Okay, we have it. And I have to tell the story when I saw BB King in concert. I don't go to concerts very much.
Oh, that sounds like a good story.
Mm.
I look forward to that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I
BB
cried, you
King. Wow.
guys. I cried.
Did you?
I
Out
did
of
for
happiness?
real.
Well, to share it with
Yeah.
us later.
Yeah, this phone is
Don't give it
this
away.
phone camera is immediately better.
Tony's in his own world.
This is such a
Aren't we all
better.
though?
This is such a better camera.
Aren't we all?
Oh, and I got
Well, we'll
night
stick
sight
BB
back.
King
That's
with
awesome.
we'll s-
Yes.
maybe we'll swap BB King with Ella. But black coffee is my favorite
Ella!
beverage. Oh, am I going to see something here? Oh. All right.
Okay, guys, we're at the 2 minute mark. I'm going to go quiet in the studio here. So,
2 minute warning.
yeah,
2
exactly.
Yeah,
minute
sounds
warning.
good.
Have a good
Warning.
show, guys.
Have a
Two
good show.
minutes.
Good grief.
Let the games begin, Jen. The hijinks and tomfoolery,
Hi
and of
and
course, don't forget
shenanigans.
shenanigans.
That is what we do.
That's what we do. That's how we roll. That is
I don't know if
correct.
I don't know if we do it best though.
I don't know. We're not like that. We don't pump our own tires. We let others pump our tires. Right?
Right. We'll let the audience be the judge of that.
That's right. Because we are a humble folk.
Sure.
Oh, so you don't consider yourself that, do you? Well, I consider myself that.
Yes, because when you consider your own self humble, when you say you're humble,
I'm
dot, dot,
very
dot,
humble, Jen.
you know you're humble
Oh,
when,
exactly. I'm extremely humble. Can't you tell?
because I say so myself.
Yes,
Self,
I
I am
declare.
humble.
I officially declare that I am humble. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Parkinson, and I'm a senior consultation specialist with Atkins Realis. Today, we are continuing our series of live stream topics on the Northern Road Link project as it moves through the provincial environmental assessment and federal impact assessment processes. The topics we are covering parallel our project activities, so we hope these will help our viewers and listeners better understand the project and provide input along the way. Just to remind everyone, we are broadcasting on the Wabate radio network to help reach community members about our project. Listeners can call or text us with questions and comments about the project at 1-844 722 4300. That's 1-844 722 4300. We try to keep the show fun and informal while being informative
Okay.
at the same time. We also take music requests as long as you provide us with a comment or question about the project. With me today, for the second week in a row, is my usual co host, Jennifer Ashwazake Pereira. My
Honey?
colleague and an Indigenous engagement and traditional knowledge specialist at Atkins Realis. Jennifer is a member of Henvey Inlet First Nation, located on the French River south of Sudbury, and works with me on our projects across Canada. Jen, 2 weeks in a row, congratulations.
Whoa, thank you, thank you. Happy to be here.
You're on a run now, Jen. You're on a run. And in the background, he hasn't emerged yet from his hole, is our technical director
Yes, sir.
and an all-round bon vivant, I guess if I can call him that. Although he should be complimented by being called a bon vivant.
Did you just call me a vole?
Well, you just
Yeah,
came out of your hole.
Can
You came out of your
you
hole,
turn the volume up
Mr.
a bit,
Bon
Anders?
Vivant.
Did he call me a vole?
a vole.
So,
Anyway, Tony's here,
hey, how
and
you
he
doing?
can sometimes be funny. Um, he can sometimes be funny. That's all.
Except
That's
I'm
all
being
I'll
called
say.
a vole, then I take that very seriously.
So, shall we get started,
Yes,
team?
sir.
Sure.
Okay, with that, let's get started. So today we're going to talk about a very important topic, and that's the Climate Adaptation and Resilience Study Plan that we are currently undertaking as part of the environmental and impact assessments. So, as we normally do, we're going to do a little run through of what we're going to cover today, and then we'll dive in and provide some background as well. So, we'll lead off with that background on the project just to get everybody up to speed if they're new to the show. Then we're going to talk about future climate characterization, followed by the climate impact assessment, risk treatment and adaptation measures, cumulative effects assessment, and then follow up and monitoring programs and commitments, and then how you can get
Pretty
in
good.
contact with us. So, yeah,
Hmm.
we got lots to cover. It's a great topic. It's a very topical topic, would you say, Jen?
Ha ha ha. Sure.
I'm on a roll today, boy.
You
Topical
are.
topics.
We'll be here for an hour.
Enjoy the veal. Uh,
Yeah.
and just to remind everyone again, listeners can call or text us with questions and comments about the project at what number, Jen?
1-844-722-4300.
What was that number again, Jen?
Okay, I'll tell you one more time, Don Parkinson. 1-844-722-4300.
All righty. So we are now ready to roll here. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do a little bit of a background on the Northern Road Link project. It is a proposed all-season road in Northern Ontario on Treaty 9 land. It would connect the Ring of Fire mineral deposits to the provincial highway network through a connection with the Martin Falls Community Access Road. And with the construction of the Webequie Supply Road to the north, it would provide an opportunity for Webequie First Nation members to connect to the provincial highway network as well. And I'll get into the mechanics of that in a couple of minutes. This project is subject to both the Provincial Environmental Assessment Act and the Federal Impact Assessment Act. Um, this project is unique in that the proponents are both Indigenous communities, remote communities. Both of them are approximately 500 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. Um, and again, these are remote communities, so they're only accessible via road during the winter for a very narrow window of time, typically 4 to 6 weeks, which is getting narrower and narrower that window every year due to climate change. There have been a number of studies looking at the transportation corridors between the Ring of Fire and the provincial highway network. And in 2020, Ontario, as well as Martin Falls First Nation and Webequie First Nation, agreed to work together. Um, communities agreed to undertake a provincial environmental assessment as proponents, and this then entered the federal process where it was became a designated project and was then subject to the federal impact assessment process. So you probably are aware of a couple of other all-season road projects that
Mhm.
are in the planning process right now. So just to help clarify things for you, in the furthest north, we have the Webequie Supply Road, the planned Webequie Supply Road project, which would consist of a 107-kilometer road beginning at the airport in Webequie and extending southeast to east of the Mukatai River in the McFalls Lake area. It would then connect with the northern end of the Northern Road Link Road, which would then extend south and connect with the Martin Falls Community Access Road west of Martin Falls. And then the Martin Falls Community Access Road is planned to extend south to connect with a couple of existing resource roads that would be upgraded and then ultimately connect with the provincial highway network. And the purpose of the Northern Road Link is to enable economic activity by helping with the transportation of goods, services, and resources to and from um, the uh, the mineral deposit area. And as I always say, it's more than just a road. There are other components, infrastructure components associated with um, roads such as this. In our particular case, the road actually would extend, it would be between 117 and 164 kilometers in length with a 100-meter right of way. And the reason why I give a range for the length of the road is that we have not yet finalized, but we're almost there, finalizing the preferred corridor for the road. And when I say corridor, I mean a 2-kilometer wide area like of land and water extending from the northern end to the southern end of the road. And there would be, as you can imagine, many water crossings, most of them relatively small in requiring only culverts, but there would be one large bridge crossing of the Attawapiskat River of over 200 meters. And then associated with the road itself would be and what you call the ancillary infrastructure, so the additional infrastructure that's both temporary and permanent. So there would be temporary storage and laydown areas for materials and equipment, maintenance facilities and yards would be permanent for maintenance and operation of the road. There would be access roads, some of which would be temporary and some would be permanent. Depending on what they're connecting to. So in the case of aggregate sites, some aggregate sites were only used during the construction period and will get closed and rehabilitated afterwards. Others will stay open to serve as a source of material to maintain the road. And we talked about aggregate sites, and then we have construction camps, which are used, of course, to house the workers as they work on the road. These are typically located at equal intervals, typically equal intervals along the route. And associated with the construction camps, which of course are temporary, would be the temporary storage and laydown areas as well too. And then we have the alternative corridors. But before we get to
Mhm.
that, I think it's time, Jen, for some musica, don't you think? And I think it's your call. You go first this week because I went first last week.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So there was an Indigenous woman who won Canada's Got Talent this year. So that would have been on May 14th when the show aired. And so her name is Rebecca Strong, and she hails out of Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. I wasn't able to dig out her nation. Um, So she sang a cover of an Adele song, and that was "Rolling in the Deep."
Well, we're gonna see.
And then,
I'll
yeah,
probably have
and
to
who
listen
sang it
to a bit of
better?
it.
It's live.
Yeah, it is
Are
live.
they
This is the
cheering for
version we
me?
have.
Are they cheering for me?
No, Tony.
Starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out, and I'll lay your ship bare. See how I leave with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I can do. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. The scars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it to the beat. Throw your soul through every open door. Count your blessings to find what you look for. Turn my sorrow into treasure gold. You'll pay me back and kind of reap just what you sow. We could have had it all. We could have had it all. It all, it all, it all. We could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it, you played it, you played it, you played it to the beat. Marcy Cho.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, sorry, they're not cheering for me.
Oh, it's
They're
a
not cheering for
shortened
you.
version.
It was. It
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah,
So
what they really
Mossy
shortened
Cho.
that. Didn't
So
they?
that's Dene. Pardon? Yeah. Well, I think they
That
sing
was
like what, 2 minutes on
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
Canada's
Okay.
Got Talent shows. They really shorten
Oh,
their
yeah, they
versions.
do shortened versions, don't they?
But I
Oh,
enjoyed
wow.
that. She
Great.
didn't sing the same high notes as Adele hits. So it's a little deeper.
That was great. I liked it. I really liked it. It's a
Mm.
really good
This is
version.
pretty
It's
good.
such a
Yeah.
great song, too, right? Very good song. And she won that. When did you said May, right? So not that long ago.
May 14th. Yeah, just last month,
Wow.
actually.
Oh wow.
Wow,
I
that's
don't know if I've
amazing.
heard of her.
Now you have.
Look at you, Jen. You're on the leading edge of everything.
The leading edge.
Wow.
Except for my next
Impressive.
song selections.
Oh, okay.
Because they're
Those are
from the
trailing edge.
1960s. That's all I'm saying.
I like that, though. I thought, ooh, that's interesting. I love that. That was a good one. I just listened to myself talk. See all of you. Gee,
That sounds good.
that's disturbing. Who's running the control room? Tony?
Yes, sir.
I guess. No, I just heard my voice.
Yeah, you
And
look
as
like a
much as I love to hear the
ventriloquist
sound of
from
my
my end.
voice.
We're trying a new echo effect.
Well, it certainly worked. Hey, what happened to the sound effects we used to play? Do we still have those?
There was no way to use them with like I'd have to have another computer because it was just causing some interference issues, like the way we run our
Oh.
system.
That's
So
too bad. Because I like those pew pew pew
So what about
sounds.
can you allow us to do sound effects? Like, can we get access to tools that allow us to interject sound effects? I just like sound effects.
Well, why don't you just make them yourself?
I
Let's
guess
hear
I'll
one.
have to, because Tony's not giving me any answers.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Keep it real. Pew pew pew.
Oh, oh, there's a good one.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is what
Tony's
happens.
sounded better.
This is what happens when I use a soundboard. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Ooh.
Oh no. Is that Windows?
Ah. So just to remind everyone that listeners can call or text us with questions and comments about the project at 1-844-722-4300. That's 1-844-722-4300. And let's go back to talking a little bit about those alternative corridors, Jen. And
Mhm.
that's the explanation for why we have such a range of in the length of the proposed corridor. Uh, because we haven't finalized which
That's
segments
right.
in different areas. So, uh, we have a map that you can't see on radio, obviously, but in different areas, we have certain alternative routes for different reasons. And right now, our team is in the process of obviously collecting input from community members, using that information in combination with technical information gathered in the field. And they're going through a process of looking at the different layers of information and assigning weight or importance of different layers to identify, some alternatives that are preferred. So in other words, for example, might have least environmental impact, or you could get even more specific than that. Or if there are areas that might be disturbed that are important to community members, and this information's been collected, then a particular route might not get as high a ranking, just because it would disturb an existing area that's being used by community members for different purposes. So we're now going through the process. I think we're almost there in identifying the preferred segments, and then connecting them all together. We will end up with a preferred corridor, which is again 2 kilometers wide. So that's what we're up to as far as that goes. Um,
Mhm.
Jen, let's move on and talk about future climate characterization. And you and I have spent
Okay.
time in Webquay in particular talking about climate change with community members and
Yes.
getting their input on that. And we've had some really interesting conversations with community members about this. It's a big topic, right at the top of people's minds, because they encounter this on a regular basis. Um, Exhibit A being in the winter, and the thickness of the ice, and how that affects how often
Safety.
safety, and the length of time that the winter road can be open, and the and
Mhm.
the the size of the loads that can be carried by the winter road as well
That's
too.
right.
So this is a big deal. It's probably, I would say, community members notice these climate changes more than others
First.
because they live
Mhm.
off the land, right? Yeah, and so we have heard numerous stories about the shrinking ice thickness, significantly shrinking ice thickness I know in the Webequay area. We've seen evidence through some of our experts that we've hired who do terrain analysis. We've seen evidence of areas where um, uh, permafrost has melted and causing subsidence, or like sinking of
Mhm.
small chunks of land, where it just sort of gives way because that it's the permafrost has shrunken, it's melted. So there are lots of examples out there, higher flows in rivers and streams and things like that as well too. Um, but in terms of the process of doing this kind of work, climate adaptation and resiliency assessment work, we try to identify what's the baseline conditions are. So what's the normal climate, as normal can be. So we'll collect information through desktop analysis and regional weather stations that have been established by Environment and Climate Change Canada, and we look at other information on anomalies when it comes to temperature and precipitation, anomalies being sort of things that are outside of normal. And so we take that
Mhm.
information and we look at that and we get an idea of where things are going, where things are trending, and we look at how that might, how these trends have been affecting the project footprint. So we'll look at things like annual and seasonal average and extreme or minimum and maximum temperatures. We'll look at precipitation levels annually, seasonally, and extreme events. You know, how often are these extreme events happening? How extreme are they? Are they getting more extreme than before? Um, we'll look at wind, like our
Mhm.
wind gusts higher than before? Are they more frequent? Things like that. Evaporation. You know, is evaporation occurring more frequently? Are we getting longer periods of drought, lower water levels, things like that, or highly variable water levels? All these kinds of things. But we've got to sort of try to capture the way things are right now, just like we do
Mhm.
in when we look at other valued components. We need to know like what's happening now, right? And how has it been trending in the last few years? So that's one thing that we do. And Jen, with that, I think it's time for me to do a musical selection.
All right.
I have focused on the 1980s. This one,
Oh,
I don't know. This is a bit obscure, I think. I don't know if you guys will have heard this one,
I
but
don't
it's a
know.
bit obscure. It's a Canadian band. It's called Blue Peter, but I really like this song. I think it's the only song
Blue
I've known
Peter.
that they ever did. Yeah, yeah, Blue Peter. Yeah,
Which was
and
the
it's the
song,
song
Don?
is called
Sorry, I closed my my list here.
"Don't Walk Past."
Oh yes, yes.
Don't walk past.
Did you
Oh,
find
I'm
it
looking
there,
forward
Mr.
to
McGuire?
this.
They have one more other song that I knew, but I don't recognize a lot of the
Yeah,
stuff.
I
But
can't remember the name of it. They had two hits, I think. They weren't that huge. I think they're from the Toronto
I'm
area,
into the
Canadian.
obscure.
You're into the obscure. This is obscure.
all
Do we
right,
have that queued up, Mr. McGuire?
we do. Yes, sir.
All right.
Let's listen to Don't Walk Past by Blue Peter. Okay, we are back. That was Don't
Were
Walk
you
Past
playing your air
Mine.
drums?
No, but I should have been. That was an impressive drum solo
That
at the end, wasn't it?
poor drummer, like they're just the sadist. More. I need more. Like I need a break, Brad. No, you're gonna play through the whole song and you're gonna
Keep
like it.
playing, keep playing.
I really enjoyed that. I never heard that before, but I've always
No?
enjoyed this
Oh,
style
okay.
of music. Yeah, like
Yeah,
Talking
it's a cool
Heads.
song. I always liked it. They have one other song. You're
I
right,
can't
Tony, and
remember.
I can't remember the name of it
Can't remember
offhand.
the
But
other song.
I think it's a
We're gonna
cool
have to
song.
look it
I
up.
think it's a really. But they are not like known as. I think they might have done multiple albums, but they were not huge by any means.
No,
But
no. I think they're
anyway, yeah,
Canadian huge, right? Like 10,000
yeah,
records kind of
Canadian
thing.
huge. They
Yeah,
never
yeah.
made the
Canadian stars.
American market, right?
Not
They
like
never
Jeff
penetrated the
Healy.
American market. That's right. Yeah, because he did well in the American market, didn't he, Jeff Healy?
He did.
That's what I thought. Yeah, because blues, I think blues it crosses borders more easily, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it does. Blues, I think it does. So we're back, and listeners can call or text us with questions and comments about the project at 1-844-722-430. What's that number again? 4300, sorry. What's that number again, Jen?
Yeah. Good thing I'm repeating it for you since you didn't complete it the first round.
Since I screwed it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that number is 1-844-722-4300.
And I won't ask you to do it again, Jen,
Yeah,
because it was so
because you said it
clearly
once and you
enunciated.
corrected it right.
Yeah. Yeah, and you so clear you did such a wonderful job of pronouncing and saying the numbers correctly that there was no need to even say it again, for sure. Um, okay, we're rolling along here. Let's talk. Let's continue our discussion on future climate characterization. And
Mhm.
so, again, we're trying to sort of get to a point where we can sort of say, okay, this is what we sort of anticipate in the future. And based on that, what we need to do to make sure our project doesn't get impacted by what's going to happen in the future. So we'll do
Mhm.
things like a literature review to look at extreme events that have occurred recently in the area that have affected any structures or infrastructure in the area. In our case, we don't have a lot of examples of that because there's so little development in the area. But some of these hazards could be mass movements like landslides or hydrological hazards like flooding, hydrological
Ice
meaning surface
jams.
water.
Mhm.
Ice jams, good one, Jen, very good. And then, like I was talking a little bit about before, hazards associated with melting of permafrost, so subsidence, where land gives way because that
Mhm.
ice is not as not as thick as before, and so there's a failure.
Not
Um,
stable.
when we do, yeah, we're not stable. So when we do this work, we also draw from some of the other work that is done by other groups um, in the environmental assessment or the impact assessment. So we'll look at data from other field studies. We'll look at flow rates in water courses. We look at vegetation. We look at geology to identify areas that might be susceptible to erosion in the event of flooding in particular areas, which could then cause downstream impacts on fish habitat, for example. So we there's the information comes from a lot of different sources for sure when we do this kind of work, and then we try to identify future scenarios for climate, like I was talking about, and projections for climate. Um, Looking at different, based on different sort of techniques that we use, we try to sort of say these are going to be the influences of climate change on the local climate, the regional climate, and then try to get an understanding of risks as well of these extreme events. So again, it's a lot of crystal ball work, looking into the crystal ball and trying to project forward what we think might happen. But it's important to do, because if you don't do it, you're not doing good planning, and you're putting your
Mm-hmm.
project at risk, and it's less likely to last the 75-year lifespan that roads like this are typically, should be designed for. So, Jen, I think with that, we're ready for another musical interlude, and
Okay.
it's now your turn.
Okay, so I would like to hear some BB King. And so I was telling you before the
You have a
show
story.
that I have a story. I always have stories.
Story
I have
time,
lots
Tony.
of stories.
Story
All
time.
right, I'm in.
Gather
Let's
round.
hear it.
Gather round, Tony.
I, I went to see BB King in concert at Casino Rama. And this was a number of years ago. And when he came out on stage, I cried. I actually cried because he's such an icon. And I don't think I was the only person because he was just a walking legend and it was absolutely a really wonderful show, although he did not finish one song because he'd be halfway through a song and then he'd be reminded of a story, then he would stop and the bass guitar would continue and he'd sit down and he'd tell us a story, and I thought it was fantastic because we got to hear all of these things and it felt like I was sitting with him in his living room. It was a really intimate concert and lots of stories, beautiful music, and he was just such a
Yeah,
beautiful man. And one of the
he is.
things he
Yeah.
was always talking about, like, I'll cut you, I'm going to cut you, from back in the day. The blues guys used to say that.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any
That's an
BB King
interesting kind of
stories?
concert.
It was very interesting.
I do not have a BB King story, but I initially thought that your story was just like, oh, he came on stage and I cried because there was a pause there, and I was like, oh, great story, Jen.
Great story. And I wasn't the only one. And every time there was a little bit of a lull during the concert,
Yeah,
someone would yell out, I love you, BB.
yeah. They'd throw their prunes up
It
on
was
stage.
great. Throw their prunes. What are you trying to say, Tony?
It's a well-known
Oh,
fact. He loves
geez.
prunes. Now I'm sticking
I'm
to that
sorry, I
story.
didn't expect that one.
He loves prunes. He eats prunes. That's
Oh, he's a fan
he's
of
a
prunes, is he?
he loves
Yeah.
he eats prunes.
Hmm.
It's just part of, yeah. But
I
sticking
didn't
to it
realize
and
that.
no
No.
questions.
Okay, no further
Okay.
questions.
No further comments on
Sidestep that
that
one
either.
poorly.
But my request is the thrill is gone.
No questions.
Thrill is gone. The thrill is gone away. Thrill is gone, baby. The thrill is gone away. You done me wrong, baby, and you're gonna be sorry someday. Thrill is gone. The thrill is gone away from me. Thrill is gone, baby. The thrill is gone away from me. Although I'll still live on for so long, I'll be free now, baby. I'm free from your spell. Oh, free, free, free now, baby. I'm free from your spell. And now that it's all over, all I can do is wish you well.
Okay, we are
Oh,
Oh
back. That
man,
was BB King. The thrill is
that was
gone.
good.
Wow. That's a
But
great. I
Tony,
forgot how good a song that is.
that was a more
I was
modern version
laughing
of it.
so hard. I think so, but I was dying
I
laughing
like
and
that
crying.
funky bass at the end.
That was a modern version, Jen, I found for you when the synthesizer was first invented.
Okay. Well, that was interesting. Towards the end now, when things went a little bit crazy, I thought, like, oh, this doesn't kind of fit in. Is it turning into another song?
Well,
Yeah.
that's the beauty of blues, right? You can take a bit of a break while the song is playing. You probably have a cheeseburger or something like that, and then just get back right into the song, when
Couple,
you're on stage.
have a couple
Cheeseburger.
So
prunes.
And
I don't
by
know,
the way,
maybe BB King
and some
Have a
couple
couple
said
prunes.
cheeseburger and some fruit.
Put them in your.
cheeseburger and a couple of prunes
Yeah,
to
put
wash
them
them down.
Stop!
Yeah,
Stop!
some prunes and a nice glass of Metamucil.
yeah, and then cap off an evening.
As
Go to bed by 8:30, and you're all set to go,
which
right,
is
Tony?
how it
Oh
was done
my
in the blues
God.
world for many years. Metamucil and
Oh yeah.
no,
Yep.
Sure.
no
Oh,
questions.
absolutely.
No questions, please, about
Yeah.
what I'm telling you. No questions.
Stop it.
Well, let's keep rolling along here. We've got some more
Yes,
music to
please.
play and some more great information to share, and we'll continue talking about the future climate scenarios and climate projections. And so when we do the assessment, this climate adaptation and resiliency assessment, we look at how things have shifted in terms of the ranges of different meteorological variables. And what I mean by that is things like temperature and humidity and things like that. So we're trying to again get that picture of how things might be in the future. We look at rainfall and implications of higher rainfall and how the water system might behave and what how that might impact wetlands and surrounding areas as well too. So there's a lot of that goes on. And then we do, in terms of the climate change resiliency assessment, there's an approach that's taken where we look at three things. There's three steps to it. The first thing is what you call the vulnerability assessment, where you're looking at how sensitive or how susceptible different project components could be future
Hmm.
climate conditions that we see, right? So, how well can they stand up to those future events or general trends towards higher temperatures, less precipitation, whatever? So, we look at physical resiliency. How can they physically withstand all these changes? We look at the health and safety of people. Does it threaten people? Um, does it threaten the ecosystem? What impacts could it have on ecosystem? And what impacts could it have on the built environment or the local economy? So we do that
Hmm.
vulnerability assessment, that sensitivity assessment, right? Like what things could happen. And then if things are identified as potentially vulnerable, like project components, whether it's a bridge or a culvert or whatever, gravel pit, access road to a gravel pit. Um, then we do a risk analysis where we look at, we try to identify how likely something is to occur and how bad would it be when it does occur, right? So we look at that. So we go through and then we look at those risks and we identify them as very low, medium, or high impact. Um, and then we go from there, right? Okay, if this is potentially a high impact, and then we look at ways of mitigating it, which I'll get to in a minute. But that's basically how this process works. And
A lot.
climate change is yeah, and the way we deal with climate change, Jen, it gets baked into all the different that are involved. But certainly on the design side and in the engineering work, uh, a lot of that is taken into consideration in terms of, for example, sizing, coming up with the right size of culvert or opening for the water
Hmm.
to flow through, underneath the road, right? Things like that. How high a bridge should be above the water level. If higher water levels are anticipated, maybe the bridge has to go higher, right? Things like that. So these are all important things to consider for sure.
Very.
Um, and with that, Jen, I think it's time for another musical selection, if I may.
All right. Looking forward to
I'll
this.
just I'll just remind our listeners that they can call or text us with questions and comments about the project at 1-844-722-4300. That's 1-844-722-4300. This next song is by a band called Simple Minds, who
Oh,
became very famous because of a song which was on a soundtrack uh, to the movie was
I
called
even know
Breakfast
this
Club.
one.
Yes, and the song was called Don't You Forget About Me. But that's not the song we're playing
Yes.
today, because this
Oh,
band is no, I'm sorry. We're not playing today. We will play it, I promise, Jen.
if you know the
Um,
song name, I'll give you a glittering prize, Jen.
oh
oh,
yeah.
Tony.
No,
Yep.
nope,
So
I get
give me a
nothing.
guess, Jen, and I'll
I'll
give
get
you
a
a
prune
glittering prize.
or a prune. I can't even guess.
Oh,
I'm
just
just
give me
gonna
a guess.
Google.
So I'll tell a short story about
I
this.
don't
Okay,
know.
I
go ahead.
Lady of
saw
Red.
Simple Minds in concert live at the Kingswood Music Theater at the what is it called? The Kingswood at Wonderland, Canada's Wonderland. And
Wonderland.
they used to have a concert venue that seated like close to 10,000 people there, which was really popular. And I went there specifically for this concert, which was fantastic. But when we got there, it was interesting because the lawn seats, which is where we were sitting because we couldn't afford to sit in like real seats, were all torn up. Like the grass was all torn up, and we were
Yeah.
like, "What happened to the grass?" And it was because Kim Mitchell had performed the previous night, and for some reason, all of his fans just decided to tear up all the grass and throw it at each other. So
Well,
anyway, we sat on dirt for 3 hours, but anyway, we still liked the concert.
excellent.
And
How
Glittering
about
Prize is
Someone
a
Somewhere
great
in
song.
Summertime?
Oh,
That's the
that's a
one.
great
That's
song
the
too.
song.
Have you ever heard that one before?
No, I
I
was
have not.
Googling
No.
No.
things.
It's a good song. But let's listen to Glittering Prize by
All
Simple
right.
Minds, and then we'll come back and finish things off.
Shine on, shine a light on me in all of my life, so that much more I see. In the light of his love, in the light of reflection, one another's words sometimes also it seems. Eyes to the sky and a silver gift friendship. Glittering prize is the price of love. They can remember quiet side of midnight. They can remember attraction of fame. Like a glittering prize, I saw you up on a clear day. First it came hard, then our last breath away. Lost in a time was by your side. We were spending time, we were staring out. Catching in a dream, captured all in heart. We were spending time, we were staring out. Sugar in the beat, ever more than one. Cold and that's all love, can you never stop? Shine on, shine the light on me. And all of my life, so that much more I see. Like a glittering prize, I saw you up on a clear day. First it came hot, then a last breath away. Only on a clear day, only in our life. Only on a clear day, only in our life. We can remember quiet side of like a glittering prize. I saw you up on a clear day. First the king half, then our last breath away. See it in the eyes, dark light sky. We were spending time, we were staring out. Taking more, endless breath from you. We were staring out, now we're staring in. Could you ever need ever more than one? Cold the nights of love, can you never stop? Shine on, shine a light on me. And all of my life, so that much more I see. Like a glittering prize, I saw you up on a clear day. First aching heart, then our last breath away. Only on a clear day, on a clear life. Always on a clear day. As if the lights of love, like a glittering prize. Always on a clear day. Flashing in our lives. As if the lights of
We
Yeah.
are back. That was Glittering Prize by Simple Minds. Tony?
It's a certain Breakfast Club feel to Canadian 80s pop music.
Yes. Yeah, you're very right. Well, that lead singer there, if you ever hear him interviewed, he's as Scottish as they come. It's
Oh,
quite hard
really?
to understand what he says. Yeah, yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
Simple Minds were Canadian, though.
No, they're Scottish.
Scottish.
Oh,
Okay. Huh.
But I mean, what you're saying is, Tony, like Canadian, a lot of Canadian bands are heavily influenced, right, by
Heavily influenced, yeah.
UK bands. Yeah, for sure. Especially in those days, I think more than now, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're right from Scotland. Trust me,
Oh, wow.
you can barely understand them when they talk.
We love our Scottish listeners.
Of course we do. Absolutely, I'm
All
part
that.
Scottish and part Cuban, I might add.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah,
know if
yeah.
have I
To our,
told you guys
to
that
our
before?
to our Cuban listeners.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I didn't. Have I mentioned that to you guys before? I just wasn't sure if I
yeah.
had. But
Maybe you should tell
anyway,
us.
just so you know, I'm 1/16th Cuban, so just so keep that in mind.
Well,
So, we'll keep rolling along here. Time's running out. Okay, let's talk about mitigation, right? So we've
mhm,
identified, let's say that from climate change, there could be some negative effects to project components. So parts of the different parts of the project. So we need to look at ways of mitigating those, of reducing or eliminating impacts of those. So we look at what we can do technically, what's feasible in terms of money, like economically feasible, and
mhm,
then it can take different forms, right? It can be passive mitigation, where we just change the design of something so that it's maybe higher and less prone to being blown out by high water levels, or put stone around it to protect it from water and erosion, things like that. We can do a lot of different things, or we can do active things, right, involving actual actions where we are checking it out more often, right, Jen? Like more
yep.
inspections, more maintenance. They call it adaptive
It's just
management, where you just you're on the fly and you gotta
staying on
adjust and
top of it all. Mhm,
stay on top of it all. Yeah. So, everything can be mitigated almost everything can be mitigated to some degree at least, but this is no different when you look at climate change for sure. Um, let's talk a bit about cumulative effects. I know we're running out of time and I think we want to play out with your last song, Jen, but let's talk about cumulative effects. And cumulative effects, when we talk about that, we're talking about making sure that we look at our project and the potential effects after mitigation. So the residual
mhm,
effects, what's left over, uh, um, the effects left over after mitigation of the project, and then we look at those and combine those with the residual effects of other projects in the area that have happened and that are from the past or from the present or might happen in the future. So that's how we look at the big picture. We step back, we combine impacts together with the ones from other projects, and then we get a picture as to what, what if any regional impact there might be, and then we look again at ways of mitigating those impacts, whether it's through more monitoring or changes in just the way things are done across the board. There's lots of different forms it can take, but we definitely do a cumulative effects assessment, and then finally, follow-up and monitoring programs are conducted to check the effects of the accuracy of the effects assessment and how effective the mitigation measures are. There are also commitments that are made as part of the environmental assessment report and impact statement, and that we follow, and we are, as it says, committed to do as well. So
Mhm.
with that, Jen, thank you for joining me today, and we're going to play out with the next song. But let me just say that wraps up today's discussion on climate adaptation and resilience study plan. We hope it was helpful and encourages you to join us next week when we talk about the wildlife and wildlife habitat study plan. Don't forget to keep in touch with our team members via the contact information available on our website, northernroadlink.ca. Miigwech, and make sure to look out for project updates on social media and our website.
Mhm.
So with that,
So
Jen, let's play out
Let's
your
hear
final
it.
selection.
my song that I selected because it's named after my favorite beverage, and it's black coffee from Ella Fitzgerald, and that was done in 1960.
Wow, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jen. See you next week.
All right, Bamapi.
I'm feeling mighty lonesome, haven't slept a wink. I walk the floor and watch the door, and in between I drink black coffee. Love's a hand-me-down brew. I'll never know a Sunday in this weekday room. I'm talking to the shadows, 1 o'clock to 4, and Lord, how slow the moments go when all I do is pour black coffee. Since the blues caught my eye, I'm hanging out on Monday, my Sunday dreams to dry. Now a man is born to go a-loving, a woman's born to weep and fret, to stay at home and tend her oven and drown her past regrets in coffee and cigarettes. I'm mooning all the morning, morning all the night, and in between it's nicotine and not much heart to fight. Black coffee, feeling low as the ground, It's driving me crazy.